Welcome to the Artists Forum. My name is Dyllon Burnside and I am your host tonight. Joining us, we have Susan Hammond, the Executive Director of NAWA, the National Association of Women Artists. Welcome to the Artists Forum, Susan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. So tell me a little bit about NAWA. What does that stand for? What does it mean? What does NAWA mean to you?
Okay. The National Association of Women Artists was founded in 1889. It's the first established women's art organization in the United States. It was founded by 5 women in a New York City studio because they couldn't exhibit their artwork in museums and galleries. So they formed a group, and little by little they started doing salons and getting their work out there. But at that time, women were like not welcome into the major art exhibits. So little by little, over the years, they gained recognition. It started out as the Women's Art Club, and then it became Women Painters and Sculptors, and then in the 1940s, it became the National Association of Women Artists. In art history books, if you read about women artists, you'll always hear about Frida Kahlo or Mary Cassatt, or I forgot her name right now, but anyway, there's usually 3 artists that are usually mentioned, but there's so many wonderful women artists that are out there. And over the years, Mary Cassatt and a lot of famous women artists did participate with the National Association of Women Artists, even though they didn't, a lot of them didn't become members. But that's how the organization grew. In the 1950s, after World War II, NAWA had about 1,200 members throughout the United States. And over the years, it kind of quieted down a little bit. We have about 800 members now, and a chapter in Florida, and a chapter in Massachusetts. So it's growing. And my job as the executive director is to move the organization forward and make people aware of women artists, because even in museums and galleries today, the representation is maybe 5%, 10%, that's it. And we have wonderful contemporary artists. So that's my job, is to empower, support, promote, and encourage women artists.
That's interesting. Talk to me a little bit about what the art world was like in 1889 and why those 5 women decided that they needed to create this organization.
Well, it was basically men. I mean, most of the museums and galleries, even today, most of the artists are comprised of men. Women at that time were considered crafters, or they did, you know, doilies and handmade little trinkets. They were known for the arts and crafts rather than professional painters, sculptors, printmakers, you know. So that, and because they were homemakers, people didn't take them seriously. They thought it was just a sideline or just a hobby. They didn't realize that women really took it was their work, and they were very serious about it. And I think it's still today an issue of having people recognize the fact that women are serious about their artwork. It's not just a hobby. It's not just an arts or crafts movement. It's people that really are doing wonderful work. In fact, many women years ago would not put their name on their artwork. They would do their first initial and their last name, or they would use a man's name. So this way, they would be recognized more for a man rather than a woman. So I think it's come a long way, but it still has a way to go.
So it sounds to me that you think the issue was about women gaining recognition as serious artists.
Right, correct.
What do you think NAWA was able to do to help change that perception of women artists?
Well, I think because there's strength in numbers, and I think as the organization grew, little by little, they were able to get their work out into more stronger exhibition spaces and groups of, you know, women's shows. There are women's shows today. There's a lot of women's shows, but if an exhibition puts out a prospectus and it's for men and women, usually the men will get more of a percentage of their work recognized than women. So I think that we still have a way to go. I mean, we have the Guerrilla Girls that are constantly with the statistics about the place of women in the art world today. So we still have a way to go.
And what would you say the place of women in art today is?
Well, I think their artwork is valuable, and they, I would, on a comparison note, I think their work is just as good or sometimes better.
Of course.
If art was judged on the art and not the gender, there would not be a problem. But as soon as somebody recognizes the fact that it's a woman artist, for some reason it's not taken as seriously as if it was a man, you know, because men can do their art. Women have to do their art, then they have to raise their family, they have to take care of the house, they have to do all the other things that a lot of men don't do. So that's kind of the issue today. Yeah. So my job is to make sure that our organization is out there. We're exhibiting work. We can help women artists if they need help to get their work out there, and to encourage women artists to do their work and feel empowered. You know, women are not good promoters and marketers. Everybody else can promote and market their work. So that's kind of my job, is to help women learn how to speak about their art, talk about their art, and be secure in it. And I don't think, I think they have a way to go with that.
Of course. I just want to read something that I pulled off of your website. On the header it says that you are empowering, promoting, supporting, and encouraging women artists since 1889. Talk a bit about each of those things, starting with the ways in which you empower women. Well,
because women, because of the recognition that they've received in the art world, are not really that secure with their beautiful work. And we have wonderful painters, printmakers, sculptors, mixed media, collage artists, and we try to have workshops in our organization that encourages women to be motivated and to do good marketing and promoting and branding of themselves, because that's important today. We support them as far as if they need any sort of help with marketing and promoting. We do have workshops and seminars about that, and encouraging. You know, you have to get your work out there. Don't do it at home and put it in the closet when then after you pass away somebody finds it. You know, when you come out to a meeting or join an organization, there's strength in numbers. So your creative spark is inspired by other artists as well, and women artists, because everybody has their story. For a woman, their art has affected their life. It's affected their relationships, their marriages, their children, their whatever. Whereas men can kind of get around all of that without having that much interference.
How do you foster interest, which is a part of your mission statement? How do you foster interest in women artists? What is your organization? How do you take on that role in fostering interest in women artists?
Well, we recently received the Rockefeller Grant, which has given us the opportunity to do community outreach. So what we've been doing is having exhibitions in local New York City libraries, and we use their community rooms to exhibit artwork. And during the exhibit, we have panel discussions. So we have about 6 or 8 women on each panel, and then we invite the students in the local schools, we invite senior citizens, we invite the local community patrons and library patrons and residents, and they learn about women artists, contemporary women artists. And they have questions, and a lot of people in the audience, believe it or not, are artists too, but they've never been able to communicate about it. So we've gotten membership that way, but more importantly, we're keeping the arts alive in the local communities. And that's important, because as the school systems are taking away funds for their arts and culture, we're trying to keep it, you know, active and flourishing in the local communities. And if this spreads throughout the United States in the local libraries, it'll help the libraries also, you know? So that's kind of what we're trying to do.
That makes sense. It's great. What sorts of artists are a part of NAWA? What types of artwork?
We have painters. We have oil and acrylic. We have mixed media collage. We have sculptors that do beautiful wall sculpture and also freestanding. We've also started to promote installation art and video art. We have women are, you know, part of other organizations and also in Who's Who in American Art, and they have pretty good resumes, but to get that out there is the key to making people familiar with who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we have shows all over. We have them in museums and galleries. We do a lot of colleges, and we had a historical show in the Morris Museum and the Women's Museum in DC. We had a symposium, so that's kind of how we get the word out there about women artists. And we invite everybody to our we have a NAWA gallery in our office, and we have a monthly show there, and it's handicapped accessible so people can come and visit. And we encourage women artists. The problem that we're having is the younger people. Most of our artists that we have are, and it's not really a problem, but most of the artists that belong to our organization are over 40. It seems that the young people, the people that are, the young women that are coming out of college, because they have the internet, chat rooms, blogs, sites, they can find exhibitions, they don't really realize how important an organization is because of the mentorship and the socialization and that. So we're trying to reach out to the college women because that's what's going to carry and move our organization, you know, for another 126 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear you talk about how technology and social media has shifted kind of the mindset of young artists. What kind of challenges are you facing in today's climate with the digital age as an organization, but also what kind of challenges are artists facing that you feel that can be addressed with an organization like NAWA?
Recently, I started going around to some of the art schools in New York City to talk about this because they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. A lot of people don't like organizations. You know, some people don't like to join organizations, but in the long run, to be a member of an organization, NAWA has an archive that would be fabulous on a student's resume. Anybody that joins NAWA and is in our catalog, their work is archived at the Women's Museum in DC, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, MoMA, Whitney, Guggenheim, the Library of Congress, the New York Public Library, the Chicago Institute of Art, Harvard, So they're missing out on that because they're doing their work, but if they're not selling it and they're not getting it out there and they're not being recognized, then they don't have a legacy. And that's kind of important to an older artist, but a younger artist, it should be just as important, but they don't know that.
Right.
So I think by going out and speaking at the various schools, it's giving them, opening their eyes to what an organization actually has. It's not just about paying dues. My thought about paying dues for an organization is this. The dues to me is like investing in your career. It's like instead of paying a promoter or marketer, NAWA does the work for you. We offer you exhibitions, workshops, presentations for that fee. So you're investing in yourself. That's another thing that they don't realize. They think, oh my God, it's a fee to join. But in the long run, they could not do the work that we do for their career unless they paid for this kind of money. So this is kind of what I'm trying to get out to. You have to invest in yourself and your artwork in order to be known. It's good to get your work out there, but you still have to market and promote yourself.
So what, if you were to just give like a quick soundbite on what are the benefits of being with NAWA, aside from the marketing stuff and being in the archive, what are the selling points? If there's a young person out there that's listening that maybe has been confronted with this issue of whether or not to join an arts organization, what are the benefits?
Well, there are a lot of women's art clubs, and there's a lot of women art organizations, but number one, we're the first. So to have that on your resume, to me is a plus. Besides that, the archive. The mentors, I mean, some of our mentors, like our honorary vice presidents, are Judy Chicago, Kay Walking Stick, Judy Pfaff, Ferris Olin, Judith Brodsky, famous artists today, Linda Stein. So just to be associated and have your name in catalogs with their names, or associated with any of the artists that have come down the journey with us, I think that would really add to their resume too, but they don't know that. So that's kind of my job, is to make sure that they learn that. So we have to up our social media to get it out more.
Right.
So.
And about how many members do you currently have?
We have about 800 plus, and a chapter in Florida and a chapter in Massachusetts. That's really opening other doors for us too, because you can join, you know, either chapter, and our members are cross country. So they, you know, everybody wants to exhibit in New York, so that's a big plus. That's another benefit, is to be exhibiting in New York, where everybody is the art scene, you know.
Right. And what is the current demographic? You spoke a little bit about the age makeup. You said most
They're all women.
Yeah. Yes.
And most of them are over 40.
Over 40.
Yes, but we have women artists up 95 that are still working and getting their work out there in exhibits and galleries and museums. So we have quite a history of wonderful women artists.
Yeah. And what about racial and ethnic diversity? How is that?
We have to work more on that. We do have some wonderful Asian artists, black artists, painters, sculptors, but we have to do more, because we have to get out there to those communities. Our board is comprised. We have a nice demographic of our board of different racial elements, which for many years was not there,
Sure.
but we've come a long way with that too. So, and do we have a way to go? Yes, absolutely.
Do you mentioned needing to find ways to reach out more. Do you feel like, I know you guys do a lot of educational things as well. Do you do outreach, any type of outreach programs? You mentioned going into schools. What type of outreach programs do you currently have?
Well, those are just speeches. Like they'll have like where you can come in and have a panel discussion about going on interviews or doing portfolio reviews or internships. I try to tell students that, you know, when you come out of school as an arts student, you're not going to get the job that you want right away. You may have to work in a fast food place or a shoe store or whatever. But if you have a goal, that's the main thing, is you have to have a goal. If you don't have a goal, you're not going to achieve anything. If you have a goal and meet half of that goal, you're okay. But the idea is to have a goal. Art, which we know, you know, you're not going to make fabulous money right away doing art, so you may have to take, you know, a job in another field until you can do your art and then get a reputation, and then you're off, you know?
You are also an accomplished artist as well, with quite some very interesting photography work that I saw on your website. You went to William Patterson University.
Right. And
you got your MFA there.
Right.
And talk to me about your educational experience and how that informed you, and speak about what your goals were and how you ended up working with NAWA.
I went to William Patterson. I got the presidential scholarship from when Bill Clinton was president at 50 years old. And I started my BFA at 50.
Wow.
And I got my MFA when I was 55. I worked for the Department of Defense for 25 years as an illustrator. So I did all their technical stuff. And I was also an EEO counselor, which made me empathetic and sympathetic to people. And I think part of my job now as the executive director is to be empathetic and sympathetic to women artists. I like causes, I like movements, I like moving things along, and that's kind of where, you know, where I feel. I was an illustrator. I had a ceramic business for about 10 years, and then when I went to William Patterson, I focused on photography. And I like being a voyeur rather than a participant in a lot of areas, events in my life. And I like series work. I like working with nudes in the landscape. I do documentary stuff, the homeless people. I've done animals that died on the side of the road as an endangered species, and the beautiful monuments that you see on the side of the road where people have passed car accidents and they leave fabulous, fabulous things. I like the emotion of it. Anything that's emotional, I like to work with. So, and that's part of my job, is working with women artists that can be very emotional.
I want to talk just a little bit about some of your photography and nude work that you mentioned. I noticed that a lot of the work was focusing on the female body, which was beautiful, I must say. Do you feel that your work with NAWA is a reflection of your interest in the female body or your interest as a female artist, or do you think that that work is a reflection of your work with NAWA?
Exhibiting nudes is very difficult. So you either have to enter a specific show that has, you know, body work or nudes in the landscape or nudes wherever, studio nudes. So I don't really show them that often. I have in New York for specific shows. Women artists, women models, for some reason, are easier to come by than men, even though I do have quite a study of men, but for some reason, the woman's body is more acceptable than a nude man's body, unless it's in a different element or a different category. So I have to show my work according to what the exhibition is calling for. I have both, but I did not, I basically focus on the woman on my website, probably, and that's kind of where I'm at today.
Okay. It's interesting to hear that you are, that's, I guess, an indication of why NAWA is so necessary, because the type of work that you're able to exhibit really just depends on what is deemed acceptable.
That's right.
So, which further, you know, makes the reason and the cause for such a organization as NAWA. And do you think that today's woman artist is it necessary for her to have the type of education that you received, or do you think that natural instinct and ability is enough in today's art climate?
In certain areas, I don't think it's necessary, but in other areas, I do. I think if you want an administrative position in the art world, you should have an MFA.
Okay.
Outside artists that don't have education do beautiful work as well. It's just that one of the questions that people will ask you is about your education. I've never faulted anybody for not having an education, and artwork is artwork, it's creativity. So look at children, they don't have structure, they don't know, they draw and it's free, it's emotional and it's free. And outside artists, they have that freedom, whereas an artist that has studied, it's more in the, you know, the professional element of what works and what doesn't work. So I think art is art, you know.
What advice would you give to a young or emerging artist that may be watching out there today?
Well, creativity to me, it comes in many forms. It could be dance, it could be writing, it could be painting, it could be whatever. You do what you love to do. When it becomes work, it's not what you love anymore, it becomes work. So even if you may have to get another job in the long run, continue doing your art. It's healing, it's therapeutic, it puts you in another world, another element, and you're letting your feelings out, and it's part of the culture that in 25, 50 years, people will look back and recognize. So I would continue to do what they have to do and not get discouraged, because when people hear, oh, I'm an artist, right away, there could be a negative. You're always going to have negatives, but try and get beyond the negatives and just do what you love to do.
At what point in an artist's career should they contact NAWA, and how can they get in contact with NAWA to join as a member?
Okay. Our website is www.thenawa.org. They could look us up on the website. They could email the office at office@thenawa.org to get an application, or just stop in and visit. Sometimes the personal element is even better than just email, you know? So that's what I would suggest doing.
Awesome.
Or attend one of our workshops or presentations, because we do advertise them.
Awesome. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for being here today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
You heard it right here on the Artists Forum. Susan Hammond, Executive Director of NAWA, that is the National Association of Women Artists. You can get more information at www.thenawa.org to find out about membership and to learn more about their current members. This has been the Artists Forum, and I am Dyllon Burnside.